used quite extensively out in private industry, and it allows you to do quite a bit of your data modeling and statistical modeling and point-and-click market. Please ask questions anytime, and unless one was very short, because we probably get those ladies that I'm SAS and I can't find these statistical procedures. That means that you are on desktop SAS, you're integrated. Due to various reasons, we have only enabled statistical procedures over itself. This is this is probably one of those common, and all your pricing is available in the grid. We still have posting some blunt and no good treatment. When you get into the grid, you do not see SAS app or any servers. You are not connected, meaning you are just in a local presence. The reason is that you have not selected the desired profiles illustrated in the next slide. Please go through the VINCI portal to access the grid or connect the VHA, CDW App 15, etc. for operations. If you try to connect otherwise to other servers, then you may not have the best experience in the world. We will use research grid references and also a couple operational for our examples. As you can see in the next slide, it will detail no profile selected. This means you are local and not connected to the grid. The slide actually shows a proper connection to the research grid and the necessary configuration of the profile. And for research, you put in this, and operations is that. If it says you're connected as a public user, you have not been configured in SAS metadata, or you have entered your ID incorrectly, or we have entered it more to the point, because right now we're using IWA, which means we're a PIV-enabled grid, and instead of entering your domain and login and password, you just have one click, which I will demonstrate. Now here is what it says. Your profile is not connected, no profile selected. If you opened up your connections, you'd see that, and you'll see that the servers are here. Obviously, I have a ton of connections for various reasons. You only have 2 or 3 at the most. So what is the solution for that? Very, very simple. Select your profile. In this case, I select Research to IWA, and I just named it up here. You'll like to have a different name. This is where I connect. The port is automatically given to you. Merely click this here, this checkbox. Use integrated Windows authentication, and that works off of your PIV card. There's no reason to put in usernames and passwords anymore, as we're going to a completely PIV compliant menu, except for currently only SAS Enterprise Miner, which is part of the mid-tier. We will be putting up a new instance of the SAS grid, which will be M5, maintenance 5, 9.4 M5. That one will be completely configured for PIV and Enterprise Miner. Now, this is something we spoke about amongst the SAS admins, what we see. And let me go through a few of these just for clarity's sake. We enable a lot of, in fact, we enable mostly all of your projects in SAS metadata. When you click on SAS app and open up libraries, you'll see all of the projects that are enabled for you. You can then open those up and you'll see the tables, okay? What we don't want you to do is just double click on one of those. So usually views. And what happens is SAS is compelled to download the entire table. No matter what you have your options set to in SAS, e.g., it will need to download the entire table. So you may want to use SSMS to look at it instead, or run the top 1,000 row store process in each application written by SAS admins, or I'll show you another method in a moment. Or you can say libraries to load data in your default schema in your project. It's very, very simple. You just say data, default schema library, table name, SAS library, table name. In this way, anything that you have created in the SAS world, for example, let's say you've modified a cohort, you can load that up to your default area and use that to join anywhere in the SQL Server world. Extremely useful. We also can do temporary tables, but I have shown that before. And if we have time, I'll pull one up and show it to you. And that's a very good way to do it too. If you ping me, I'll gladly share code in that regard. Avoid overusing the library definitions, which are pointing to remote SQL Server databases. Explicit SQL pass-through is the industry-proven best practice for pulling records from any remote database management system. And in this way, you can essentially push all your code up to the database server. In this case, SQL Server. It could be RBO1, 02, 03, whatever. And it runs all the processing up there. You can join other SQL Server tables there, and it will return just the columns you selected, and essentially whatever you're culling and filtering returns to you down to the SAS world. Now, this is highly desirable. If you try and do live names and data steps and do it within SAS with sorts and merges, you will turn an operation which may have taken you 2 to 5 minutes into 2 to 5 hours. We have a VINCI site with much documentation on it, and will come up at the end. Please feel free to avail yourself of that. And we also have many recordings, so we're pretty well heeled in regards to documentation and answering the instances and the questions we've seen out there. Now, very, very important. With PIV, especially in our enhanced security environment, try to avoid, we allow you to keep a session over for 72 hours, unless it's a batch session, SAS GSub, which we'll show later. But please try to avoid just keeping sessions open. We have something now called Kerberos, which essentially passes your security tickets via Active Directory. And that takes about 10, give or take, hours to expire. When that expires, you'll come in the next day and you'll be unable to do anything in regards to the database world. The best solution to that, the easiest solution, is merely log out and in and make sure all your database connections that may connect to Kerberos are closed. And I'm sure many of you have seen this before, unspecified GSS error. And that's exactly 99.9 repeating % of the time what the issue is. Now we're going to look at Enterprise Guide. This is the preferred method of getting into SAS Grid. And in point of fact, you probably know this, but SAS has ceased enhancing about, I think, over 4 years ago, desktop SAS. It's never going to go away, but what you see now is what you're going to get. They are, and I believe wisely so, putting everything into Enterprise Guide and also SAS Studio. So either one is fine. We use Enterprise Guide mostly here, but I'm sure SAS Studio will come more in vogue as we get later releases of SAS, and that allow enhancements to SAS Studio is ideal for. But that does not mean Enterprise Guide will ever go away, and any of the enhancements that come will only be essentially strongly enhanced by the usage of our grid. We will examine all these options under tools and also under tasks. And because if you don't know how to program SAS, and you do not have to know how to write SAS to use it, because the programming wizards are excellent. I have trained many SPSS programmers and R programmers, etc., just by showing them the wizards. And the very, very good thing about the wizards is that they also produce the code for you. So it's not just a black box. It allows you to do things in a parameter-driven method, and then we'll give you the code. Now let's do a quick live demonstration of this. I'm going to go to another server. This is how you would normally get into VINCI. I'm not going to go through this, and that takes a little bit of time. And here I am in VINCI. I am in Enterprise Guide. And as I said before, here's my profile, and it brings that in. Let's just look at the modification. This is all I need to do. Fill out whatever, put that in, click on Windows Authentication, and save it. Okay? So I close this, I have no needs. Now, let's look at tools first. And I guarantee you that just like the human brain, I believe that most people are not even using 10% of what Enterprise Guide can do. Now, it allows admins, admin managers, and it allows file manager. This is how you can control how your output is going to look. In this case, this is default. I could do whatever Dove is. I can put it in Festival, Fancy Printer, but I'll leave it here for now. High contrast, whatever I need to do. That's default. You can change this quite easily. And then I can change this and then set as default. I can add styles. I can create copies, whatever I wish to do. So let's cancel that. Let's come back to tools again. Enterprise Guide Explorer. What this will show you is the servers that we have active. Okay. Now, as you can see, SAS EM is reserved for enterprise miner usage. If you're part of our data miners group, then you will see that pop up. If not, you will not. It will show you your SAS folders. It can show you actions if you've actually done anything. It can show you stored process servers. We don't have old apps, so that's not an issue. But you can do many things here, details, whatever. I welcome you to explore that. You can also do things with your profile down here also too. It's very robust. Let's check out our next option. This is I use this quite frequently, but I don't think many people do. It's your SAS macro variable viewer. Let's click on that. It shows me all the variables that I have enabled in SAS app. Essentially, these are all global SAS macro variables. If you don't know what a macro variable is, essentially a macro is a programming language within SAS that allows, it's essentially code that writes code, shall we say. And these are all the macro variables I have available to me that are active. For example, where PC file server is at. So I can, if I have any questions about what's active, shows who I am, what my client user ID is, client machine I'm on, the version I have of it, really anything where I'm at, automatic variables, shows the dates, Thursday, what I'm using for my graphic device, shall we say, anything here. And you can set these using a proc option statement. It'll show you my host and operating system. And it shows you the job ID that I'm out in the grid. This one is like 9025, my last work file, etc. I welcome you very much to look down. If you process ID, object server, and avail yourself of this. If you ever have any questions, this is where you want to go. Now, because I have two servers, I can switch to SAS EN, and that will show me exactly the same information, but the information is pertinent to that server. I can filter results. I can see I can answer whatever I'm looking for. I can put in a quick macro expression, and it'll show me what it adjudicates to. Very powerful, and I'm surprised how few people use that too. Now, also something very similar, the systems option viewer. Now here, this is really what proc options does. Is macro variables are set separately. My apology. This shows everything I have under proc options or any of my open options in SAS Enterprise Guide. And for example, what everything's set to, I can go in proc options and reset these any way I like. And that's even things such as memory usage. You name it, anything that's in proc options. And if you ever want to see what's available to you in proc options, just put inside your program proc options semicolon and run that, and it'll show you. So and you can add whatever. Everything under the sun is here. And again, you see performance, buff nodes, buff size. Mem size, what we have available to you, et cetera, et cetera. So if you think you're not getting enough bang for your buck as far as memory, you can have a look here what's available to you, and you can change it accordingly. Okay? I don't want to go through all this for obvious reasons. So feel free to have a look at that. And again, as before, that was SAS app. This is SAS Enterprise Miner. It'll show you all the same thing. So the gist of that is that we can see any macro variable or any system option just by going to the tools here. Now, one good thing here, like we can assign a project library. And as you can see, it says 8 or fewer. I usually assign AAA because it goes to the top. And then I can, this is one could run under SAS app. They can also run under SAS EM. So I hit next, and I can either SAS choose the engine or use base, whatever I choose to do. And then the browse the path, you just hit browse, and this shows me the data on SAS app. In this case, I'll go to admin, and I'll say I'll pick mine here, data, okay. So I've assigned this to the project that I will have a lib name called AAA, and it will go here. So I go next, and if I want to specify anything for library, like read only, whatever, I'll do that, and I hit finish, and there's my project live. So if I go refresh, here it is up there, and it shows me all of my data. You can do that either programmatically or you can do it here. But going forward on this project, I will always have that library assigned. And there's, as we know, the obvious simple code. So let's go a little bit further. We can update library metadata. And that's if I so wish to choose that here. And again, it's for SAS app or SAS EM. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to make changes to our production lives. You can make some changes to your project libraries, though. So this is a good place to see. Begin by selecting a SAS server and library to synchronize. This will cancel out, but it's something very useful. If you need assistance with that, please let us know, and we will be glad to help you. Let's cancel out of there. And I'm not going to show you a jump because I don't believe we're doing it anymore. Now, project maintenance, the project has to be closed. Once it's closed, I can pick a project I have available and do whatever I like to, all the options are. But because I'm leaving the project open, we won't do that now. Connections, again, this is my profile down here. So I can change my connections at any whim. I can also do it down here too. And last but not least, very, very powerful, let's go to options. These are general. I can change anything here. I can say number of items displaying recent project menus, 6. I could change that to, and I will, 30, because 6 is never enough. I can add anything, show full warnings, include, enable project logging for new projects, whatever I need to do. Project views, group store process and program items, allow renaming of 2 clicks. I can generate code items, show SAS output log, etc., etc. Project recovery, if you have issues where it says it's unable to save, then you can actually browse and change where you wish to save any recovered projects to your home directory or a project directory, whatever. So that's very useful to have because if for some reason you lose connection, whatever, it will save your old project so you don't lose any of your work. Now let's just look at results very quickly. This is general. I usually save all mine in SAS work, RTF, but I can do it in any of these forms. PDF also. My default is SAS report. I can choose PDF or RTF as my result here. I always choose SAS report. I'm managing my results prompt before replacing, of course. I would say always do that. And you want to display, what that means is if you have an error in your program, the SAS log will come automatically, whether it's your error or a live name is not resolved correctly, etc. I like to open data sets when I'm done. For example, if I do a query, I don't like to add it to the project tree. I can link hand code LES results, etc., etc. Show general wrapper code and SAS log. And it prompts me before opening files much larger. All right? That's everything in general. Now if I show my viewer, I can select my Gmail viewer, Enterprise Guide, Windows Default, Preferred Viewer, right down the line. SAS report, again, I can change as I showed you before. I can manage my styles. I can put in ODS statements if I really want to answer or change the location. Same for HTML, RTF, PDF, graph. And just let's go back to PDF one quick moment. You see how robust this is, what you can do, and you can add names, keywords, subject title. If you're going to do, for example, create a PDF for a paper or to share, this is very useful item to have. Excellent item to have. Graph too. I can say where I wish to show everything, my URL for the code base. Here's Excel. Again, I can go into much more detail, not just use the defaults. I can create PowerPoint. I can create results from my stored processes. Now, this controls our data a little bit more. Here, I don't ever do that, of course. That's fine if you so choose to do it. I automatically open data when added to the project, et cetera, et cetera. So anything I need to do with my data here, I always prompt when closing a project with temporary data reference. So if you say, oh, I have a large Word file I don't wish to lose, I'll put it in a permanent file. You stop, cancel, and go back and retrieve it any way you want. You can take a look at a lot of these other items. I could spend forever on this, of course. Make sure I have valid member names, yada, yada, yada. Performance. Now, let me be very, very specific about this. This does not change. If it does limit the rows 50 or 100, that does not change. The SAS has to download the entire SQL Server table. This is only what is displayed to you. So if you think that when you click on it, you're limiting the rows to 50 or 100 as far as the download, that is incorrect. You can still spend a long time there. It's only going to display these to you. All right? So be very, very cautious. Queries. Take a look at this. Validates when you make changes. Automatically attempt to join tables, and we'll look at that a little bit later. Apply formats. Many ways I can do this. Just I invite you to take a look at it and go forward with that. All that data we don't have, so not to worry. Tasks in general. For example, I normally like to use this. Use proc SQL instead of proc sort for sorting tasks. You can add custom code to any of your projects or programs by inserting custom code before tasking query code or afterwards. For example, a format is a good example of that. Something, an option like options can press equals yes, so that you shrink your output data. You can control your work library, the order of your work library. I'm sorry, the order of your output libraries. I work first, SAS user second, grid work third, EG task fourth. This is our default. That's the most efficient way. You can control your SAS programs. How you code before, code after, what they look like. You can do file comparisons. You can either use a customized file tool, or you can always use proc compare, of course. Program history. When I choose to commit my changes, or every time I save my project. Okay. Security. This is obvious. Do not put plain text passwords and generate code. Mass credential and SAS log when possible. Administration. I transfer data. You cannot use this in VINCI, I'm sorry to say, because of the firewall restrictions as to emails. And application logging, you can enable logging or not, and select which file you want to send it to. Extremely powerful, and please, between all the tools we have and the options here, you have much to avail yourself of to your benefit. Now, as I mentioned before, we have tasks. These are things that if you do not know SAS, but you know what you want to do, this is where you want to go. You're going to want to say data, allows you to do all the data here. Import things, import SPSS, imports data. Descriptive statistics, which we know is proc summary, proc means, et cetera, proc freak. If you don't know how to use SAS graph, which to me is one of the more difficult things to code in SAS, this is the way to do it. It'll bring up a wizard, and all you really do is select the type of chart or graph that you like, add your parameters, and off you go races. A simple ANOVA, t-test, non-parametric linear, or if you're of the school I am, you don't believe in linear models, only non-linears. Regression, again, multivariate, survival analysis, capabilities, histograms, control charts, Pareto charts, if you're an economist or come from that background, you remember Pareto optimality, things of that nature. Time series, so you can prepare time series. We have SAS ETS, so we can do basic modeling or real modeling, regression analysis with all regressive errors. Remember, if you do not have at least 3 years of data, that the results are not reliable. Data modeling, this is essentially a rapid predictive modeler as opposed to Enterprise Miner, which is very robust. OLEP, no, and Task Template Manager. Again, we showed that before. But the important thing about this, and again, I could spend more than an hour on these, is that you do not have to know how to program SAS by writing it, because what this will do is generate anything you want to do and the code. So you can, for example, if you do something you want to use successfully, then create it into a macro or put it into production environment. This, and you don't know SAS, this is the way to go. I've known many SPSS programmers who become immediately functional. Not immediately, but let's say very functional very quickly and become quite proficient. Okay? Now let's go back to our, I should ask, are there any questions up to this point?
This one.
Sure.
This person writes, so we avoid downloading the output file or limit the number of rows in EG?
Well, what you want to do, if it's a very large, if you're running proc SQL pass-through, it doesn't harm you because it's already downloaded the data to whatever venue you chose, whether it's a permanent live name or the work live name. So it will open it up, and that's when those EG parameters will come into effect. Do not think, though, if I open my library and double-click on a view in my project, my source data, that it's making any limits at all. Now, another thing we have, which is our batch environment, is called GSub. This is extremely powerful and allows you to do anything you create in SAS EG. If you save it to a location, you can run it in a batch environment. Now, I suggest to people that I would use SAS EG for my development, and if it's going to be a large job, especially an overnight job, by all means, you want to use GSub. And why do you want to use GSub? You won't have that issue with Kerberos. You won't have any, if there's a Windows network interruption, you do not lose your work. It works within the self-contained Linux grid environment. Except this is where you want to run your large jobs, your long jobs, especially your overnight jobs. If you have production quality jobs that you wish to run, you would set them up as a GSub job, and I'll show you how to schedule them in a moment. We use these with Linux Asterisk products, PuTTY, MobaXterm, and WinSCP. That's mostly for results. To initiate it, you can use PuTTY or MobaXterm. It produces log and list output files. Log obviously shows us the results of the coding, but if we had errors, list is the actual results of the program itself. You can run anything you do in EG, ODS, reports, parallel jobs, etc. And here is an example of a GSub command. It's this simple. SAS GSub, grid submit program, location of the program name. That's it. It breaks down as follows. And just as a side note, we've recently directed all of our GSub jobs up to the normal queue, which has unlimited time, as opposed to the EG queue, which will stop at 72 hours for obvious reasons. Let's break this down. SAS GSub is command and initiates it. Grid submit program is the option to submit program. This is the location, and that's the program name. Now let's go back and do another demo. And we will go here. How do we get in there? And we'll do that later. In the PIV environment, you go to play CAG, you set that up. Let's see if I load this. That's where I want to go. So then I just say open. And because we're in the CAG, because we're in the PIV environment, all I add is in lowercase please, VHA, SAE, VVOM. And we'll go. Now, if I've run things before, let me just clear the subterfuge. I can just hit my up arrow key. It gives me my last command. I click on that. This is message job. It says it was normal, and it shows me where my login this file will be data grid share here. So how we get this is where I use WinSCP. So we come into WinSCP. I would go here. This also is enabled for the PIV environment. I go up. I'm in my data grid share, my name, and you'll see that it just ran the job. If you have any issues, just click that, which is refresh. You come here. It gives me all the information. Gives me the job log, the results. These results can be anything. When I say anything, it could be PDF or whatever you choose. So get a host right now in case you have questions for us. It actually shows the job code. And if I click on list, for example, what I did here, my program was the fractional equivalent apply. And that was my result. Now, when it shows my log, if I don't get a list, and I expected one, this is where I want to go, and it will give me all my information. So that is our grid share batch environment. And that's as easy as it is to do. That's all you need right there. Okay? So, again, let me stress very strongly to everyone. Use EG for development and use GSub when you really want to run a large job. There are small jobs or jobs that maybe take half an hour, so by all means use EG. But if you don't run jobs that take 2 or 3 hours, there's no reason to have something running on your desktop when you can run it within the grid itself. Much, much more efficient. And if I put a job in parallel mode, which I'll show you very soon, it will run it in parallel mode in GSub. Okay? And let's go back here and go back to our presentation mode. Any questions about GSub?
We have a question.
No problem. I'm sorry, it's you.
When I create graphs and output to RTF file, why does it omit the title in SAS Grid in parentheses, which it didn't in regular SAS 9.4?
I would recommend, and we can take this offline, you can do through ODS statements anything you want. It's completely robust. So if this user can contact the VINCI SAS admins, and I or one of my colleagues, Kevin Martin and Tony Silva, will show you the ODS statements, how you can customize that in any way, shape, and form. Okay? Now, let's talk about scheduling within the grid. We have something called what we have. You're able to schedule your jobs within the SAS Grid utilizing a combination of cron tab, which is a Linux tool, and a SAS cron script. This essentially is a script, which I'll show you, but this is all you need to put in here. We call everything in, as before, and we enable it. These are called LSF statements, which you need to have. Here are our options. It'll look better when I bring this up. And then remember, here's something very important. Remember that all scripts in Linux are case sensitive. If you, for example, have something like data and I put this in lowercase, it will not find it because I have saved it in uppercase. Same here. If anything is out of step as far as case, it cannot find it. Linux will not. SAS is not case sensitive, but this is working in Linux, and Linux is case sensitive. Very important point. And how to access cron tab? Well, we do that through the PuTTY CAG environment we just looked at, and it's within your PIV account, and we edit it via something called VI, which is a very primitive program editor. That's really the only way to work with cron tab. I edit the programs using WinSCP, which I find much better. And I will show this to you. This will be a reference which you can save. This just means list all the cron tab jobs I have. That means that it is at this point, it's just a comment. And there are options where those 5 stars are. I can set month, day, time of day, frequency, whatever I wish to do. Now to edit it, it's a command cron tab -E. And then it will install a new cron tab. So let me do a live demo of that. And we're going to go back to our environment. And down my phone. So let's get rid of this. And very simply, we'll type in cron tab -L for list. And that's a cron tab I have. So if I want to edit it, cron tab -E. Now, if I just want to uncomment it, all I have to do is hit delete. All right? If I want to insert something, I press I, and I can type my heart's intent. Now to save it, I have to hit escape, :WQ, which is essentially means write it and then quit it. Now, as you notice here, I also put in a command that says touch. And this produces a file with nothing in it into this area. This says SAS cron has run. So if I have any questions about whether it's running or not, I always put a little touch command in there. So then we come up. And this is from before. Now, when this hits 141, this will change. And it will also run our test script. And how we go? We go like this, like that, etc. And I'll just let that run for a moment. Now, the command I have here means it's going to run every minute of every day. So that's something we're going to want to avoid. So let's look. Let's refresh. And there's my job. There it is. Same job I had run before, but now it's running on a schedule. So this is a job, for example, every morning I want to see results of a query, what I think has been updated. This is how I would do it. Now to edit it again. Type I for insert, enter the pound sign, escape, :WQ. And now if I hit up twice, now it's time it is. Any questions about that? You can schedule anything for any time. Just do, I don't want to go into cron tab completely, but if you ping me or you Google cron tab, it'll show you all the options for it, and they're very, very simple thing to do. So back here. Now, as I said earlier, this is something I think is neglected. There's a lot of people starting to use it, but it's one of the true strengths of any grid. It allows for concurrent processing where you can run several jobs simultaneously, saving hours of processing time. The example is if I had 5 procedures, each took 1 hour to run, and I ran in a linear server method, I have a 5-hour job. If it's done from a single source and there are different analytical procedures, and I put it in the grid, and the grid says, we can break this up into 5 concurrent jobs, it runs in 1 hour. So I save 4 hours right there. And you can use this both for data development and analysis, and very simple to do with a grid code analyzer. And let's do another quick live demo. I have this one here. Here were things, and let's talk about this a little bit. This was a program I tested, and to test it, this is SQL Pastor, and I generated this by looking at my data and then going to program, let's say not program, but task, going to data and query builder. Okay? And I built the query, and I included select top 5 100. This way I'm sure of my syntax, and what's coming back to me is what I wish to have. Now, this runs that quickly. Okay? Now, I'm making, just for argument's sake, we have antibiotic, dental, same test, insurance, same test. These have no link between them, so don't look at it for the viability of the query itself. So then I combined all three simply by copying, all right? And I put a live name in when everything would go. And if I ran this, and each one only takes a minute, but if these took hours, it would take each hour to run individually. So what do? I go to Analyze Program, Analyze for Grid Computing, Grid, we get analysis, and this happened very, very quickly. I'm not going to run this one because I already have it, and this is what came up. It recognized I had 3 tasks to run. This is the wrapper code for it. Now, one thing I do, it says you don't need to, but I think, I don't know if it's a flaw or whatever, but I always make sure I have my live name and the options in every R submit. Okay? So there are 3 tasks here. You know, you can go and edit and add or put syshost name, whatever you want to do, so you can see where it's going. And we can run it. Now, smaller jobs that take a couple of minutes, you really don't want to put parallel processing. The larger the job, the better parallel processing is. And again, it's just as easy as testing, as we did here, combining. And if we combine, after testing, Analyze Program, Code Analyzer, click here, begin analysis, it generates the code for you. Here's my code. I click on Run. It actually takes, for this instance, for this example, less time to run this than with this. But that's because there's a startup cost to the grid. But if this, like I said, if each of these was an hour, you're talking about a 1-hour job as opposed to a 3-hour job. And this is running now in the grid in the background. The reason I showed with queries is because I noticed that a lot of people, when I help them review their code, they're running one query after another. Now, you can join up the SQL Server through pass-through, but if you want to bring it down to the SAS world and combine it and do some manipulation of the SAS or output, this is the way to do it. If I'm going to run 3 queries up the SQL Server or anywhere, I want to run them in parallel processing. This will save me all the time in the world. And I kid you not. I have looked at things that took 12 to 18 hours running through here. It took less than 1 hour. And it shows me all my output. Here's my log, and I ran it on 3 different job slots, so I ran it concurrently. And you can do that just as I showed with that. I can do that with either data, or I can do that with procedures. Now here, again, I have an area where I keep my data, and I do a prop freak, and we'll run this. Same thing. In this case, this actually does run faster here because it's running freak against a large amount of data. But if I were going to run something that had a lot of permutations, or I wanted to run, for example, several regressions, several models against one source of data, I would do it. I would set those up, test them against a limited number of observations, run it through the grid, put them together, run it through the grid code analyzer, and then I would have something that could run very quickly, much more quickly. And if this is something I wish to do over and over, you can schedule it as we showed previously. But if I find that it's a job that's going to take hours again, I save it here, and then I run in GSub. And it will run in the background. I have my SAS EG session free. I'm not stuck, or have to open another session. There's less systems contention. It's just a far more efficient way to process for you and for everyone else. So here are my results, and it contains all the results together. And again, I can send these results anywhere, put them in any form. Now if we go to the log, and I hit Control F, and I say put host. Oops, how do I call that? You know, this is something you really want to read that often, but it's showing me everything in here. And yeah, I'm sorry, I should just have put those. So it ran on SAS 8, and I'll check again. SAS 03, SAS 06. So what happened? It ran each job concurrently on different hosts and different job slots. Saving is obvious, of course. So any questions about parallel processing, and I urge everyone, when you can, and I would be happy to meet with you or any of the SAS admins to show you parallel processing in more depth, you can do 3 to 4 times the amount of research just by using this one aspect. There's people who use it quite extensively, but there are many of you who do not. I strongly, in the strongest terms, recommend that you do. Let's go back here.
Mark, there's a question.
Yes, sir.
A couple of them, actually. Excuse me. This person asks, which menu option created the code for you?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Which menu option created the code for you? This was during your
let's go back and look. I come here. Okay, I click on this program. If you know, I go to Analyze Program, down arrow, Analyze for Grid Computing. I go to Grid. I say Begin Analysis. It's going to look at it, and it may take a while, and usually it doesn't take quite that long. And I just add it to process. There's my program. Now again, I do a little editing. Because if you'll notice here, first time it does it fine. It adds everything I'm looking for, options and the live name. But then, for some reason, it never made sense to me, it has what I would put, should be in the next block to the end here. And I always make sure that I have it here. And that's all I really need to do. Okay? Any other questions?
Yes, this person asks, how many slots can be used at once?
We, right now, I believe Kevin set it to 5 slots, but if we lift that restriction, or you go through it in GSub more correctly, you can have as many slots that are available to you out in the grid. Now, I'm going to warn you, if we see something out there running that's going to have 10, 15, 20 slots, we can review the code, and we'll look in and probably help you make some corrections, help put things together. But I run things 7, 8 slots without any problem.
Mark, there are 2 more questions that are probably more appropriate for the end of your presentation, but I could read them off to you now if you want.
Well, I want to get a few more things, so let's leave them to the very end. Now, let's take an enterprise minor. I gave, there's also another cyber seminar that was recorded out there, so I just want to mention this. This, again, is something that I think is a little bit underutilized here, too. And it's so easy to get to. If we look at this, and we get rid of that, all it is you would click here, and it comes up, you just click launch, and just hit, it'll ask you, do you want to update Java? You say no, and it says you accept the risk of this code, and once that comes through, it comes here. And then what would happen is this is the only one for now that is not PIV compliant, but will be very soon. You put in a password, and you can request the extension for the National Help Desk, and this will bring up Enterprise Miner. You can either do a new project, open project. I would just look at a recent project, and this is just the cyber demo that is available to you, and we can enable that so you can learn Enterprise Guide, and the demo is excellent. We have a whole small manual that the SAS gave us that will extend to you and give you the data and everything. And then it comes up to diagrams, and then I click on my diagram of choice, and it takes a moment to come up. It takes a moment to come up, and then you can come over and you can start it from any area. Now this all runs because in my options, this will run parallel. Use grid processing when available. So all of these, this will prompts run simultaneously, concurrently. Decision tree, interactive decision tree, regression, neural network, all the neural, and that's just scratching the surface. We have many modeling. We do time series. We can explore our data, sample our data, modify it, assess it, and I'll be glad to work with anyone, privately or in groups, on getting Enterprise Miner up to start. It's really starting to get used quite extensively, and that's our benefit. And that's something very useful here, and because I previously ran, this is model comparison. So if I click on results, and that comes up, it actually, with all the models I ran, according to my parameters, in this case it's return of profitability, it says which model is the most efficient for my defined parameters. Now, anyone who's done chi-squared validation just beats it. Okay? So that's Enterprise Miner. I apologize I have to just touch it, but it's a huge topic in itself. So let's go back here.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to let you know it's 2:55.
I am looking. Yeah, I'm trying to.
We can go over if it's okay with you.
It's fine with me. I'll just go through tips, and then I'll just take questions. So here are our final tips. SQL pass-through queries, always against a database. SAS works faster and is more robust than SQL Server, meaning that it can work. What you have, let me amend that by saying you have the ability to use anything in SQL Server, and you have the ability to use SAS code. So the hybrid effect, to me, is much more efficient and robust. And you have the ability to use SQL if you're more comfortable with SQL, proc SQL, or SAS data steps and functions, or the wizards. And you can work with any appropriate venue, as we stated previously, which would be SAS Enterprise Guide for development, GSub for production of large jobs, etc. You can incorporate other technologies. We have several people that now use R within SAS, and when we attain SAS VIA, you'll be able to use things like Python, Perl, Java, all within the SAS environment. And SAS can create data for other packages, and again, I'm just scratching the surface of the capabilities of the grid. More tips. Parallel processing, as we went through, can reduce time of ETL analysis. Far more storage in the Linux grid than on Windows per project. We have terabytes of storage as opposed to the limited in Windows by necessity. So if you're going to run things in the SAS grid, store out there. Do not store it to your P drive. Standardized environment makes efforts simple and efficient, and we have pre-prepared security in SAS metadata, where you give us a group of people, only they can see your data. And even when SAS app comes up, unless the authorizes it, you will not even see the project. Always have your project enabled within metadata. You have to make us aware of that. Resources that we offer are us, of course, the VINCI SAS administrators offer online training for you or your group. You can contact us there. Specific questions about access to VINCI, networking, things like SQL Server data. We'll try to help you, but you might be better off going to vinci@va.gov. This is the central site where we have excellent documentation. Kevin did the lion's share, and I must say did a very good job, Kevin Martin. Some downloaded SAS manuals, a few things from Tony and myself. Kevin knows more of the documentation trained, and I'll say again, he does an excellent job in that regard. And so we wish you all good gridding. Thank you for attending. Contact us with any questions or comments, and now I'll take any questions.
Mark, one person asked, could we just use the SAS Grid program editor to write and save programs to run later in batch?
That's exactly right. That's what we were talking about earlier. If I, for example, come here, I have this one. I run this one in batch, as a matter of fact. If I go, well, that's our 10-minute limit. My apologies. If I come here and I have a parallel process batch job that I created in SAS EG, and I come here and click on this, enter. Here, I see that too many times. Go back. This is an old one. If I take that job, and I say here, it's parallel process, and substitute its main location here, it all runs in batch in parallel processing. So that's a very intelligent user. Test it here, create a batch here, as we did, and then run it in the GSub world.
Great. We have one more question. We have one more, yeah. It's now exactly 3 o'clock. Audience members, if you really have to go, please do fill out the survey that pops up when you leave. If you have any other questions, Mark has said that he can stay a little bit late, and I'll just jump into the final question as of now. Is there a class or in-person training to learn how to use the SAS Grid?
Yes, we offer, and that's primarily Tony Solit, one of the 3 SAS admins. All you need to do is contact us here, and we will enable your project for you and give you a half hour, an hour of customized training for you or your group with your project, and we'll go through any questions that you have, and we'll give you all the tips we did today, any questions you bring up. We'll even help you optimize your code and give you examples. It's very thorough, very robust, and again, we customize it because when we help you, we help the veterans, and we help the rest of the VA who's using this. The more efficient we all become, the greater our return on investment is. So please feel free to contact us, and we'll set up the class just primarily for an individual or group.
Mark, this question that came in while you were answering that one addresses exactly that. This person says, I do run large programs and create them. I will really appreciate if Mr. Ezzo could go over the parallel processing with me in detail sometime.
It'd be a pleasure. Send me an email. We'll set up a meeting.
Should they send an email to vinci.admins@va.gov?
That's fine. That'll get to the 3 of us. And all 3 of us are proficient in regards to parallel processing and SQL programming, etc. SAS programming, obviously.
Well, we don't have any questions currently. If you'd like to make some closing statements, probably now would be a good time.
Okay. Again, I want to thank you all for both availing yourself of the SAS Grid and for taking an hour out of your busy day for the seminar, and to thank you for your service for our country's veterans. And again, any questions, please feel free to contact VINCI SAS admins or myself. Thank you very kindly, and have a wonderful rest of your day.